Welcome to Highline Excel class number 19. Hey, if you want to download this workbook and follow along, click on my YouTube channel, then click on my college website link, and you can download the workbook. Week 3, Business 214. If you're in the class, just go to our Week 3 website. Hey, this video, we have to talk about advanced filter. We have 9 amazing examples of how to use advanced filter. Here's the basics of advanced filter. It's similar to a filter, except for we can list our criteria range above in some criteria area, and advanced filter will automatically extract the records out and put them somewhere else. Now you can use advanced filter to filter in place, but usually our regular filters will do all that stuff. What I like to use advanced filter for is extracting records. So let's see it. Here's one criteria. You got to put the field names exactly as the database itself, or Excel list or table has the field names, and you put your criteria below. We'll just start off with an easy one, just a single criterion, Toyota, and so we want to extract the records. It'll go through, and every time it sees a Toyota, it'll extract the whole record. Now, just like our other data analysis features, you click in one cell in the data set and then go to Data, Advanced Filter. In earlier versions, you go to Data Menu, Filter, and then Advanced Filter. I'm going to click on this. The keyboard shortcut in this version is Alt A Q. So it's going to ask us a few questions. Filter list in place? No way. I want to copy to another location. The list range, it guessed right because we have our data set up right. Criteria range, I'm going to highlight. And by the way, we don't have to have all the field names. We could just do car type in our criteria, and it would know to do that. By leaving these blanks, it means give me all of the records from there, all the different cities, all the different sales. Copy to, I'm going to select this cell right here, and then click OK. Just like that, instantly it extracts all of those records. Now, when you do advanced filter, criteria, extract range, there are names that are created in memory in our name manager. So we're going to use Control F3. Control F3 gives us name manager. In earlier versions it says define names, and there it is, criterion extract range. Now we have 9 examples we're going to do here, so we're going to create a lot of different criterion extract ranges because we're doing it on different sheets. One criteria. Now let's see 2 criteria. The sheet A, advanced filter, and hey, this is and the criteria has to be on the same row. And means this has to be true, and this has to be true, and this has to be true in order for one record to extract. So if we look here, Toyota, City 23, both of those are met, but this one is not, so it wouldn't extract it. Click in one cell, Alt AQ. I do not want to filter my list in place. Copy to another location. It got the list range right. The criteria range, highlight the field names and one row below with your AND criteria. By the way, if you had criteria like sales and you wanted to do a between, you could list the sales column twice. So sales here and sales here, you could have a greater than and a less than, or a less, yeah, and whatever's in between would work. So for some fields, you have to list it twice. Obviously, it wouldn't work for car type because there is no record here that has a Toyota and a GM. All right, copy to. I'm going to click right here and then click OK. Just like that, it has all of the records, criteria met, criteria met, criteria met. Toyota, City 23, all of these are greater than 25,000. So that's and, same row. Or, AF or. Or it's a different row. So we want a Toyota or a Ford, and then the same criteria here. Now, if you know Access, this is similar to a query there. You have your ORs go on rows below. Click in one cell, Alt AQ. Copy to another location, definitely. It got the list right. The criteria range, I'm going to highlight both rows and the field names. Copy to, I'm going to click right here, click OK. And just like that, it extracted. And you can see this is an OR. It got the Ford 23 greater than 25,000 and the Toyota's 23 greater than 25,000. Now, another advanced filter feature, just awesome. I use this all the time. Unique records. And I took a picture of the dialog box here. When we get to this in just a moment, you do not use the criteria. You can just check unique records and it will extract just the unique records. I'm going to move this over here. Now, why is this so great? Because a lot of times you get a data set just like this. And it's a data dump from some database, and all you want from this huge database is just to get a list of unique customer cities. I'm going to click there, control down arrow. So there's 225. And I just want to see a list. It could be on any one of these fields, or it could be actual records, right? Depending on what data you select. If you selected the whole table, it in essence would look through all three, and if there were any duplicate records where boom, 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 that one would not be extracted. We're not going to use it for records. We're going to use it for a whole column. So watch this. I'm going to click on the top, Control Shift down arrow, Alt AQ. Now you can see it got there, but again, this trick is not limited to just one column. It could be one or more columns. Criteria range, we do not need that because this is what we're going to use. Unique records only. Copy to another location, and I'll copy it to, I'm going to click in H1 and click OK. And just like that, we have our unique records. It should be city 1 to 2, and then you of course can right click sort. I'm going to click A to Z, and sure enough, there you have your unique cities. So that's a great feature. Next topic is extracting records to a new sheet or a new workbook. Now, in both cases, the trick is you have to start on that new sheet or in that new workbook. So I'm going to add a new sheet. The keyboard shortcut is Shift F11. I'm going to call it Data Dump 1. Now I'm going to add some criteria here. Car type, I hope I'm spelling this right. You see I can't spell, I can't type. Car type, that's the field name, and the criteria, Toyota. Alright, so this is on the new sheet. I'm going to click right there. Advanced filter. The very first thing, well, I'm going to say copy to another location. But the first thing we need to do is get our list range. So you click on the sheet, and there you go. That's the whole trick, is starting on that other sheet and then coming and getting your list range. I'm going to Control Shift down arrow. The criteria range, I'm going to highlight this. Notice as soon as I clicked in the text box, it jumps back to the sheet. Copy to A1 and then click OK. Just like that, we've extracted data to a new sheet. Now let's see a new workbook. I'm going to Control N. And again, the trick is we have car type, Toyota. I hope I spelled this right, Toyota. I'm going to click right here. This is a new workbook. Data advanced filter. Copy to another location. But we got to get our list range. I'm going to go up to View, switch windows, and click there. You could also go down to your task bar and click on it. Now I'm going to make sure and get the sheet I want. I'm going to click here. I don't want to scroll all the way up. Notice it put a A97, but if I Control up arrow, it gets right to the right range. And notice it just changes because it's in point and click edit mode. So now I can just redirect it and then Control Shift down arrow, and it has the right range there. Criteria, when I click there, it jumps back to that other workbook. I highlight that. Copy to A1, click OK. So that's to a new workbook. New workbook and new worksheet, very important. Now I'm going to go back to that other workbook. So we've done sheet and book. Now there's two last amazing topics, and they are formulas. Now in this case, I want to add a whole new column with a true-false formula. And that'll give me trues and falses, and then I can just criteria true and extract records this way. But I'm going to do two things. The reason why I'm adding an extra column is because I want to highlight with conditional formatting the whole row. So in this column here, I'm going to say TF criteria. So that'll be the name of our new field. And I'm going to use an AND equals AND. AND is great because we can have two logical tests, and both of them have to be met in order for this AND to deliver a true. So the first logical test is going to be this cell right here. Now, stop a second. If we were just doing this column, that's a relative cell reference, we could copy down, and it would always look at the car type, right? But since I'm going to use this formula also in conditional formatting, I need to think about this. In conditional formatting in memory, it'll copy the formula across the whole row. Well, I need this cell for Toyota, for car type, to be locked as I copy across the row, but move relatively as it moves down to the next one. So for this whole row, we need the criteria car type. So I'm going to hit my F4 once, twice, and 3 times. Column reference, and the column reference is locked, which means formula copying this way in memory for conditional formatting, locked on Toyota, but not the row. So when we go down to the next one, it looks at the next criteria for car type for that record. So that has to be equal to this GM. And this one I have to hit F4 to lock it both ways. That's the first true-false test. Then I type comma, and sales right here. And again, I'm going to have to do the same thing, F4, F4, F4. Greater than or equal to, and oops, I have greater than there. I'm going to remove that greater than symbol there in just a moment. I need to lock this one in both directions. Close parentheses and Control Enter. Now I'm going to come up here, backspace, and get rid of that. So now I just have a number there. Now I can double click and send this down. And you can see it gives us a true there. GM greater than 30,000. Not very many of these. There's another one, true. But here's the trick. Let's add some formatting. I'm going to go to Home, this. I'm going to click on that one and then get my paintbrush, copy format only. Now I'm going to highlight the whole table, and this is the conditional format part. Now when I highlight the whole table, you have to be aware of where the active cell is. I'm going to highlight all the way to there, like that. Control Shift down arrow. And then I can scroll back up. Actually, let's get out of that. I'm going to click here, F2, because this is the formula we're going to use. Control C, escape. Now I can highlight to there, making sure that's the active cell. Control Shift down arrow. The keyboard shortcut that works for for conditional formatting, the pathway in 2007 is this new rule. The keyboard shortcut that works in both versions is Alt-O-D, Alt-O-D, and then I click on New Rule. I click on Use Formula. I click here. I click Control V for paste. Notice that's an active cell, so that's where it will, in memory, this formula will be copied over and down. So in essence, in memory, in every cell, I'll have this true, false. When it comes out true, then what do I want? I want a format, fill, red, font color white. Click OK, click OK, click OK. So sure enough, now I have that. And what's nice about that is we have a couple things going on. We have a true here. We have this color. If I come up and change this to Toyota, then it switches the conditional formatting. Now I'm going to keep this GM. And not only do we get those two cool things, but we're also going to use this true-false column in a advanced filter data extract. Now I'm going to click right here. Actually, why don't I copy this, Control C? That's always the safest way because that field name has to be spelled correctly. I'm going to click right there and type true. Now I can do my data extract. Click in one cell, Alt-AQ, copy to another location. It got that range right. The criteria range is right here. Copy to, and I'm going to click right there and then click OK. And sure enough, that didn't work at all. We better scroll down here and figure out what we did wrong here. Right, now we have our setup, but let's do advanced filter and extract these records using a true. I'm going to scroll over here and actually copy that, the field name, paste it right here. Important to get the field names exactly the same. And then I'm going to put my criteria true right here. Now I click in one cell in the data set, Alt-AQ. I got to make sure I got my all the fields, including this one here, Control-Shift down arrow. Copy to another location. The criteria range, I'm going to have to scroll up, and my criteria range, and notice this. We're using just one field name. Before we were using a bunch, but we were going to do and or. You can just highlight the field name and the criteria for a single field, and it will know to do the whole table and just look in that field. So then I got that, and I'm going to copy to, click right there, click OK. And just like that, we've extracted using a column. And it has our records that meet the criteria. GM greater than 30,000, greater than or equal to 30. Now, in this one, we added a column true, false, and used our criteria right here. But let me show you an alternative to this setup, to actually adding a whole column. I'm going to click over here on AF, Advanced Filter Formula 1. And now I'm going to do a simple example, which is 2 criteria. But this trick is great when you have lots of criteria, or and. So your criteria area might be huge. Now here we just have 2 criteria, the same 2 criteria, but instead of adding that column, watch this. Advanced Filter, if you just create the first formula as you would create it in the first cell right here, Advanced Filter would know what to do with it. So I'm going to do the same formula, equals and since I'm not doing our conditional formatting like last time, I can simply click here just as if the formula was over here, right? And say, is that equal to this? And I have to lock that one with the F4. And is this one, remember this formula would be right here copying down, so right here now it's looking 2 to my left. Is that one greater than or equal to this? F4. Close parentheses again. This is just 2 criteria. There's other ways to do this that are probably even better than this, but if you had lots of them, this trick is awesome. Control Enter. Now watch this. The key is you have your true false formula from over here, put it right there, and leave this cell above blank. No field name. Now we do Advanced Filter, Alt-AQ, copy to another location. Now I got to make sure it got it right. It did. The criteria range, if it wasn't there, you just highlight it, make sure that one's blank right there. Copy to. If that wasn't there, I'm going to click right here and then click OK. Just like that. It did the same thing as our last one. City 3, 23, and 9. If we go back over here with our column, we got those same records. So this can be sometimes a lot more efficient, especially when you start getting lots of criteria. One last. I'm going to click on the Advanced Filter Formula 2 sheet. We'll look at our final example. Here we want to extract every 10th transaction for an audit sample. So we have some records here, and we just need every 10. Now we could change this to whatever, the 30th transaction. And we could add a true-false column, but it might be most efficient to just type a formula and leave the criteria name blank and do our advanced filter based on a formula. Before we do this formula, let me show you what the mod does. Equals mod. And if you remember 4th grade math, when you're doing division, if you were to take 1 divided by, actually I'm going to change this to 10. If you say 1 divided by 10, well, that's 0 with a remainder of 1. If you say 2 divided by 10, that gives us 0 with a remainder of 2, right? So the mod function gives us the remainder. So it says number and divisor. It just means numerator, denominator. So I'm going to click on the number, the top of the fraction, divided by, click on this 10, and I'm going to hit the F4 key to lock it. Close parentheses. Let's just see what this does. Whoops. I did a, it's not division. I have to put a comma. It does the division for us. Now, when I copy this down all the way to the bottom, sure enough, when I get down to 9, right, 9 divided by 10, well, it's still 0 with remainder 9. But when I get to 10, what's 10 divided by 10? The remainder, it's 1 with a remainder 0. When I get down to the 20th row, 20 divided by 10 is 2 with a remainder of 0. So there's our pattern that we've recognized. If we just did one last thing and say, hey, when is this equal to 0, then it will give us a true double click and send it down, you can see it gives us a true there and a true there. Now we don't want to use this whole column. I'm going to click here F2, copy that whole thing, Control C, escape, Control Shift down arrow, delete. I come up here, Control V, there's our formula right there. Now we can do our data extract, Alt AQ. Copy the list. We actually need to include all these columns. Control Shift down arrow. I had to verify there that in fact the range was correct. Oh, this is a huge data set. Oh no, it's not, just F10. Let me make sure there. Yeah, that's right, F10. Copy to another location. Now our criteria range, if it's not there, you just highlight it, blank, true false formula. And our copy to range, I'm going to click right there and then click OK. And sure enough, it gives us our X data record extract every 10th transaction. And it doesn't, we don't quite have 100, but it gave us our 8 transactions there. All right, advanced filter. That was actually 10 tricks of advanced filter. Next video, we're going to talk about pivot tables.